Flashback to October 21st, 2020. I did a podcast on the Hunter Biden laptop. Was it legit? Was it not legit? Was mainstream media putting a little kibosh on that information? Yeah, here we are. Fast forward to March 18th, 2022. And President Biden is now our president. That whole laptop thing? Came out yesterday. New York Times article indicated in paragraph 26, I believe, that it wasn't a Russian disinformation campaign, the Hunter Biden laptop story. It wasn't bogus information. It was actually Hunter Biden's laptop and the emails back and forth. And that's what everybody's kind of worked up about. The emails contain information. Doesn't make the Biden administration or Hunter Biden, for that matter, look all that great. And mainstream media basically spun this as, hey, look at this group of 50 former intelligence officers, CIA guys and all kinds of departments and whatever. These 50 guys over here, they said, well, that looks a lot like Russian collusion. And that was the end of it. And this was right before the election. Tell me if that story didn't get out and get pushed out, if that wouldn't have had an impact on the election. I think it would have. I think it definitely would have. But it got quashed. The whole thing just got smushed. And I did a podcast on it, and what happened on my end was it was not eligible for monetization. So, so when that happens, it doesn't get pushed out. Let's jump on in and let's see what happened yesterday. We'll be jumping from a number of sites here. Let's see what happened yesterday in the New York Times, and then let's see what media has done since then as far as coverage on this. You're going to want to say, crickets. Flashback. Ex-Intel officials claimed the Hunter Biden laptop story was Russian disinformation. Several members of Biden administration amplified the letter. That's the letter written by the intelligence officers. Amplified a letter in an attempt to discredit the narrative about Hunter Biden's emails. Yeah, those aren't legit. That porn that Hunter Biden recorded on there, no, that's Russian disinformation. We're not sure. Yeah, it's just crazy talk, right? The New York Times confirmed a story this week about Hunter Biden's laptop that over 50 former U.S. intelligence officers previously dismissed as Russian disinformation. The Times confirmed the authenticity of President Biden's son's missing laptop that turned up in a Delaware repair shop and contained dozens of damning emails from his time at the Ukrainian energy company, Burisma. We got Ukraine, we got a laptop, we got Hunter Biden doing stuff. Was the big guy involved? Was the big guy getting his 10% cut? That's what this all kind of leads to, right? So there's an ongoing investigation right now. Hunter Biden, his finances, borrowed $1 million to catch up on taxes, because that's what you guys do. I mean, when you go $1 million behind in taxes, you just secure a loan from, somebody. Let's see, are you going to pay us back for taxes? You want to borrow from us for taxes? Okay, well, yeah, that's literally what's going on. So that didn't stop over 50 former U.S. intelligence officials, including former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, from weighing in on this story in October of 2020. Let's see what that looks like. Let's just take a little tiny peek see. Okay, and where is that? Here we go. All right, here is the letter. This is a public statement on the Hunter Biden emails written October 19th, 2020. Here is the paragraph that is really entertaining. We want to emphasize that we do not know if the emails provided to the New York Post by President Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, we do not know if they are genuine or not, and that we do not have evidence of Russian involvement. No evidence at all, and we don't really know. Just that our experience makes us deeply suspicious that the Russian government played a significant role in this case. So, did Russia play a significant role in this? No, they didn't. But this is the letter, and let's scroll down. That's the one paragraph that I want you to pay attention to. That is the crux of the story. because this letter was taken. And if you look at like Jen Psaki's Twitter account, if you look at President Biden and all the statements that have been made, hey, 50 intelligence officers can't be wrong, can they? Turns out they were. And that's what we're talking about. Well, we're talking about it because we're reasonable, and this is news for reasonable people. The mainstream media, mum's the word. We're just not, that doesn't really work with our narrative right now. Yeah, that laptop, somebody's got to do something about that. One of the interesting things in my research for this was trying to come up with why, after 17 months, is the New York Times disclosing this now? That's interesting, right? And there's a number of different, theories, and I haven't really kind of figured out what I believe there yet. But something is going on. There is something behind the scenes. And if you know me, I am reasonable. I'm not a big conspiracy guy. I don't believe in a lot of that stuff. I don't believe that the election was stolen in the way that it's been purported in the press. I do believe it's been influenced along these very same lines of this storyline, that significant impact was made by the media in covering some stories and absolutely crushing other stories. Because the main line that you'll see in the media on this one is that Facebook and Twitter, they both basically just didn't allow people to share it, wasn't on their platform. They labeled it as Russian misinformation, when in fact it was not. And I believe it was not just Facebook and Twitter. It was many, many other mainstream media and also just social media that, everybody uses in their daily life. This was a case of just this story. This isn't a good story a couple of weeks right before the election. We need to make this go away. And that's what happened. That is literally what happened. And so one of the ways to make that happen is look over there. Look at those guys over there. They're 50 former intelligence officers. They couldn't possibly be wrong with their opinion on what they think was on the laptop. Just our experience that makes us deeply suspicious that the Russian government played a significant role in this case. Again, we do not know if the emails provided to the New York Post by President Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, are genuine or not. And we do not have evidence of Russian involvement. And yet, everybody, on down the line pivoted from this letter that I'm just reading to you now. And here is a great example. Hunter Biden's story is Russian disinfo, dozens of former intel officials say. You know what? So that's the story. Let's jump back, and I want to show you here super quick who signed this. Jim Clapper, former Director of National Intelligence, former Undersecretary of Defense for the Intelligence, former Director of National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, Mike Hayden, former Director, CIA, former Director, National Security, NSA, former Director, National Intelligence. These are the kind of guys that signed on to this. These are all former guys. Former Director of CIA, John Brennan, Thomas Finger, former Deputy Director of National Intelligence for Analysis, Rick Leggett, former Deputy Director, National Security Agency. So you get 50 of these guys who are all retired. You get them to sign a letter, and everybody looks at that and goes, Russian disinfo. When in fact, the letter didn't state that there was any evidence whatsoever that this was Russian disinfo. And there's no evidence, none. And the reason being, because it wasn't. All right, let's jump back to here. Hunter Biden's story is Russian disinfo. There's going to be some people that are going to be like, yeah, that story I wrote, that tweet I sent out, that did not age well. More than 50 former senior intelligence officers have signed on to a letter outlining their belief that the recent disclosure of emails allegedly belonging to Joe Biden's son has all the classic earmarks of a Russian information operation. We've been hearing about this damn Russian information operation for so long, and it is just so ridiculous, isn't it? It's crazy talk. I'm going to put my earphones on, make sure that our audio is doing okay here. Hold on. All right. And I can't hear myself talk as well, but at least then I'll be tuned in. Okay. So the letter signed on Monday, and this is back in last October, right? Is that last October? Yep, October 19th. And the day I did my podcast was October 21. My podcast did really well at the beginning until it was determined this is Russian disinfo and mainstream media was given the directive, yep, that story, not so much. Yeah, don't let that story out. The letter, signed on Monday, centers around a batch of documents released by the New York Post last week that purport to tie the Democratic nominee to some Hunter business dealings in Ukraine. Interesting. Is there a war going on with Russia and Ukraine and Hunter Biden? So one of the things is the New York Times is maybe feeling pressure that the Hunter Biden story, and they're not really telling the truth on the whole Hunter Biden story. Maybe they feel that Hunter Biden is going to be indicted. Maybe he's going to have some stories to tell, and it's going to come out that the laptop was legit. I think a lot of folks have believed, a lot of reasonable folks have believed the laptop is legit, because if you do a deep dive at all and don't just watch CNN, you'll realize there is no information out there saying that the laptop isn't legit. And if you look at the responses by the powers that be, we're going to look at Hunter Biden and his response and at the time, and we're also going to look at President Biden as he walks away from a press conference talking to Peter Doocy and kind of making fun of him. How did that age? Yeah, not good. All right, let's keep going here. Okay, so what am I looking at? Sorry for the delay here. Okay, so this is story. Hunter Biden paid tax bill, but broad federal investigation continues. This is the New York Times article, right? This is the New York Times article. And it doesn't even talk about the laptop. It is literally buried in paragraph like 26. And we're gonna scroll down, and I gotta find it again here. But Hunter Biden paid tax bill, but broad federal investigation continues. So that right there leads me to believe other stuff is gonna come up. Maybe New York Times got the heads up. Hey, you know when you guys said that was Russian disinfo and you discredited everybody else that said it wasn't? Yeah, maybe a little correction should be done there. NPR already did a correction, I think about a year ago, because they were complicit in the story being Russian disinfo, and it just wasn't. It simply wasn't. The laptop is legit, and the emails have been encrypted. And I heard a tech guy talk about how they test the authenticity of the letters. I don't understand the whole tech. You send out a DNS, and this server responds and comes back, and you got this kind of setting and this kind of setting, and it sounds like that's what they did, and the New York Post has done a deep dive on this. I think it's funny that the New York Post has this story and the New York Times is just like, oh, yeah, paragraph 26. So let's scroll down here. Let me see if I can find this again. I wanted to just read it straight up, but give me 1 second here. And so here is the New York Times section. People familiar with the investigation said prosecutors had examined emails between Mr. Biden, Mr. Archer, and others about Burisma and other foreign business activity. Those emails were obtained by the New York Times from a cache of files that appears to have come from a laptop abandoned by Mr. Biden in a Delaware repair shop. The email and others in the cache were authenticated by people familiar with them and with the investigation. So buried deep in this article about the ongoing investigation of Hunter Biden and his finances and little IRS tax probe. Now, he has paid his taxes, but this investigation is ongoing. There's also testimony being taken from his baby mama, who I believe was a former stripper. I mean, why wouldn't she be? You know what I mean? There's testimony going on, and she believes he will be indicted. Now, well, is that, take it from the source. Who knows what'll happen there? But the big deal here is this paragraph right here basically indicates the email and others in the cache were authenticated by people familiar with them and with the investigation, and it looks like they're true. Oh, geez. Oh, that's not good. What is going on? So here we are. Yeah, mainstream media just flat out lied that this was a Russian disinfo campaign. And here it is. Unfortunately, the damage has been done, and there's nothing you can do to unwind this. But moving forward, it'll be really interesting to see how many news outlets, do a little retraction of, oh, hey, yeah, that. I don't think any of them will. I don't think any of them will. I've been searching for, doing Google searches and taking a look at YouTube, seeing who's put up what, and the usual suspects, folks in kind of my genre of what we do, which is, news for reasonable people, have been, hey, this is a big deal. This is a huge deal. And yet there's almost nothing from mainstream media, nothing, because they don't want to have this narrative be out there. This is not good. All right, let's keep going here. Okay, so this is the podcast that I did a year ago, and I literally did the Politico article. That's the one that Hunter Biden's story is Russian disinfo. Dozens of former intel officials say. So you got that narrative out there. Mainstream media just took that and ran with it. And then the rest of us that are, have any sense of questioning at all are like, yeah, but they didn't come out and say this is why it's Russian disinfo. They just thought that it smelled a lot like Russian disinfo. Okay, but it wasn't. Huge difference. So this to me, it's a massive cover-up. But you're probably not going to hear much about it because, what's done is done, and you can't get too worked up about that. But I think you are going to see a number of things come out that are going to give us a little bit more insight as to why this is happening now. 17 months after, all this craziness happened and went down. And a lot of us said, yeah, that doesn't smell like Russian disinfo. That just seems like a laptop with some emails on it that maybe has some information that if the general public, took a hard look at it, they would go, yeah, what do we got going on here? What is Hunter Biden doing with Dad that maybe he shouldn't be? Those are some concerns. There was an informal poll done. I think it had like 1,750 people. I've heard a number of people talk about it. And it basically said 1 out of 6 people who voted for Joe Biden for president maybe wouldn't have voted for him if they would have known that this information was out there. Small sample in that poll, but sample nonetheless. It's a poll that's out there. Would this have had an impact on the election? I think it definitely would have. 25 years ago, 30 years ago, some information like this comes out, this would have been devastating. But now that the media is controlled to the extent that it is, this is what we're working with. This is what we got to deal with. Let's keep going here. Okay, so here's a quick, if you do a quick search on YouTube, let's do a refresh here and let's just see what we've got going on for the Hunter Biden laptop. You've got Fox. Okay, Fox has covered this. They covered it back then. You've got from CBS News, you've got the latest on the federal investigation into Hunter Biden. Okay, but it doesn't say anything about the laptop. You're just in it. I watched that video and basically just, okay, there's an investigation. It's continuing to go on, but we're not really going to talk about that. We've got another Fox article. Now that Joe Biden's president, the Times finally admits Hunter's laptop is real. That's from the New York Post. Forbes, Psaki questioned about Hunter Biden's laptop. They're questioning Hunter Biden's laptop. Jen Psaki basically came out and said, Hunter Biden doesn't work for the U.S. government. I do. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm just not going to cover that. But when it was deemed to be Russian disinfo, she talked about it. And she basically said, well, we've got 50 former intelligence officers that say that this is, Russian disinfo. So I believe that's what we got going on. And now, mum's the word. We're not talking about it. So it's wild, right? Fox News. And I guess it's not really wild. Then we delve into mainstream media stories that are a year old. So there's been virtually no coverage of this most recent New York Times story by mainstream media. Just none so far. And I'm recording to this for you 11:40 on Pacific Coast Standard Time on the day after the New York Times released the article. Here's the main story, opinion editorial from the New York Post. Now that Joe Biden's president, the Times finally admits it, Hunter's laptop is real. And the reason I want to read this one is the very first line is, "Forgive the profanity, but you have got to be." I need to edit that too. "Forgive the profanity, but you have got to be shitting us." I guess I'm probably just going to run with that. All right. So, yeah, that's, if you're reasonable, that's kind of what you're saying here. You've got to be shitting us. It's like, what? Okay. Yeah. All of a sudden, it's conducive to indicate, well, that whole laptop thing, that Russian it doesn't really look like that was Russian it was probably Hunter's. He probably dropped it off. He was in the middle of a crack bender, and sometimes you drop things off and you've got intentions of picking them back up, but Hunter didn't do that, and the computer repairman, he turned it over to the FBI, and yeah, we just went down those roads, right? I mean, we went down those roads. And then it was determined, these intelligence guys, they're telling us this, so we got to believe that. Absolutely wild. Here's the next one. Journalists lose face after New York Times confirms Hunter Biden emails not Russian disinformation. How much face are they actually going to lose? Probably not much. I mean, we're just going to roll on. Journalists, Democrats, and anti-Trump commentators insisted the story about Hunter Biden's laptop, which allegedly contained emails showing he was engaged in potentially illegal foreign business dealings, was Russian disinformation. Major social media companies did the same and blocked the story from their platforms for various lengths of time. Here is a clip from Chip Franklin. "Raise your hand if you appreciate Twitter for censoring the BS anti-Biden disinformation article from the New York Post. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Really? Oh, hey, raise your hand if you thought that was nonsense that Twitter and Facebook did that." Yeah, because that's censorship. That's straight up censorship. Wild stuff, right? I mean, and we know this is happening, but this is probably the greatest example of, the media impacting an election. That's kind of how I formulate it. 𝐍𝐞𝐰𝐬. Good. Russian disinformation meant to harm our democracy shouldn't be given mainstream platforms. Should mainstream platforms determine what is and isn't Russian disinformation? Because that's what they're doing. Look at those guys over there. They said this smells like Russian disinfo. They can't be wrong. They've got hundreds of years of experience between them, and they feel like this is probably Russian. And so, the rest of the country bought it. Oh, Russian disinfo. Oh, good. Oh, yeah. So we don't have to worry about that. Now it's back. The laptop from hell is back. Will it make a difference? I don't know. Probably not. But we're going to talk about it anyway because it's what we're doing. All right, so here is news, Google search, from Hunter Biden laptop. New York Post has the top couple because they're the ones that basically broke this story. Now that Joe Biden's president, we talked about that one. Hunter Biden's infamous laptop confirmed in New York Times report. These are all the top stories that are out there. We got the New York Times. This is the third one down on the list, and this is the one we already read. They're talking about the tax bill and the federal investigation goes on, and that's why I think this is coming out, because you can't hide it any longer, right? We're going to have some subpoenas, and we're going to have all kinds of crazy stuff probably come out. Another interesting storyline was maybe we're setting the Bidens up to not be president in 2024. Don't know. Yeah, maybe we're doing a little setup to get somebody else on board. Oh, can't deal with him anymore. I mean, that laptop and all that stuff. Not good. Yeah. Next. Is that going to happen? I don't know. We have to find out, right? So the National Review did Psaki dodges on Biden's smear of authenticated Hunter Biden laptop story. That's going to be interesting because Peter Doocy, he is a one-trick pony. He's not, but he just hammers the story. And Psaki's going to get tired of that one. And this information is going to come out, and it's going to be really tough to avoid. The Daily Mail had this. They had a number of angles to this story as well. Meghan McCain, media complicity in censoring the Hunter Biden laptop story is a betrayal. I think it is. Mainstream media, with which many of us who are reasonable and watch the stories that could get covered and watch the stories that don't get covered, kind of understand there is an agenda going on here, right? There is an agenda going on here. And it's not an agenda that is in our best interest. And so to have something like this come out is kind of like, okay, this is an absolute test case for if you speak out about what you believe, that story might get crushed, not based on any actual information. It's just that it doesn't fit the current narrative. And so, that's what you get. You tried to bring out the truth and you get crushed. So that is literally what's going on with this story. How it'll be handled, today's a Friday, how it'll be handled over the weekend, be super interesting. Again, I bet you it's basically just crickets. We don't hear much of anything. You're going to hear the Ben Shapiro's, the Tim Pool. Tim Pool's already released one. Ben Shapiro just released one this morning, videos and stories. And a lot of the guys I follow, and a lot of the guys that you follow, they're going to have stories. But for the vast majority of people, the laptop? What are you talking about? Laptop? What? Oh, that laptop from like a year and a half ago? Oh, that one? Oh, that's a story? That popped up again? That thing won't go away, will it? That's what the majority of people who watch CNN, that's what they're going to talk to you about. All right, so I put on the earphones for a reason. It's because we're going to watch this quick video from Fox, and I think it's pretty entertaining. It's got two clips here with Hunter and our fearless president. Let's take a look-see.
We know them so far. Good evening, Trace.
And good evening. Now that we have the major players on the record, here's a timeline on who said what. In the early fall, it was the New York Post that broke the story of the incriminating documents and emails found on what was said to be Hunter Biden's laptop. The story was then blocked on Facebook and Twitter because it, quote, violated Twitter's
and a bunch of other places.
Policy. Of course, Twitter never provided any evidence the emails were hacked or was Russian disinformation. But in October, then candidate Joe Biden told 60 Minutes it was both Russian disinformation and a smear campaign. Yet the same month, then Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe knocked down Joe Biden's statement saying the laptop is not part of a Russian disinformation campaign, and the FBI and the Department of Justice agreed. But the media largely ignored the story, and so in late December, President-elect Joe Biden had this back and forth with Fox News correspondent Peter Doocy. Watch.
President-elect, do you still think that the stories from the fall about your son Hunter were Russian disinformation and a smear campaign, like you said?
Yes. God love you, man. You're a one-horse pony.
Joe Biden's yes answer indicates extreme confidence. Yet now we know that Hunter Biden doesn't share that confidence. Watch.
Was that your laptop?
For real, I don't know.
I know, but you know that this is.
I really don't know.
Okay.
The answer is.
You don't know yes or no if the laptop
I don't have
was
any
yours.
idea. I have no idea.
So could have been yours.
Of course, certainly. There could be a laptop out there that was stolen from me. There could be that I was hacked. It could be that it was Russian intelligence. It could be that it was stolen from me.
Or it could be, as the man who turned over the computer said, that someone who looks very much.
That might be my laptop. It might not be my laptop. It might have been stolen. I could have been hacked. It could have been Russian disinfo. Which one was it? It was your laptop. What'd you do with it? Was it stolen? Did you report it stolen? I mean, it looks like it was your laptop and you dropped it off and you just didn't pick it up. And then the president basically just completely sidestepping, yes. When in fact he knows, oh, geez, yeah. And now, as of yesterday, comes out, one of mainstream media's very reliable sources is stating, the laptop's legit, so are the contents. So I think you're going to see information coming off this laptop. It's going to have some pretty major implications. What that actually looks like, I don't know. And there's got to be real reason why this is happening now. What does that look like? I'm not sure. You're going to have to stay tuned. All right, that's it for me on News for Reasonable People. Thanks so much for tuning in. And I'll be covering this as it comes out, but I wanted to get this one out pretty quickly because I think it's important that people know. All right, yeah, you're not always getting the full scoop, but you are here on News for Reasonable People. Okay, thanks again for tuning in. Love to have you subscribe, do all that stuff. We'll catch up soon. Bye for now.